Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. This is going to be the first type of a video that I really do a comparison of. It's just going to be a straight comparison and not necessarily a full-on review. For those of you who don't know, there's been a lot of hype in the community, or the fragrance community as of recent, regarding a fragrance called Fresco by Ilum. Now, Fresco is supposed to be a fragrance that smells very similar to, if not some people have called a clone, of Creed's Aventus. Creed, for those of you who don't know as well, is a higher-end fragrance company that deals and specializes in selling fragrances that are well above $300 for 100 plus milliliters, like 120 milliliters. Whereas Fresco is supposed to be a cheaper alternative. You can buy Fresco for $39.99 at this point in the video, or that I'm making this video. So the price difference between the two is you can pay basically 6 times as much for Creed Aventus versus this Fresco by Ilum. All right. So Fresco, that's what basically Fresco is. So I went ahead, saw the price tag, and did just a blind buy ordering of it. The fragrance actually arrived at my workplace yesterday. I wasn't able to get my hands on it, but when I got in this morning, I was able to pull it out and grab the fragrance. This is the box. It says Fresco by Ilum on the top. And this is the bottle. There have been a lot of complaints about the bottle and its I guess design and performance. The design is very simple. It just says Fresco, and it says Ilum, New York, Eau de Toilette, and the cap is actually pretty cheap. So it's a very simple bottle, very simple, and there really isn't much to say about the presentation. So, but again, caution, some people have complained that this actually leaks. So, and I've seen 2 comments that they've had to return it because of its leaking. All right, I got lucky. I did not get one that leaks. Now, when I sprayed this on, the very first thing that came to my mind was Aventus. And I thought, oh wow, this really is an Aventus clone. And, you know, I went around smelling it and I got a really strong dose of pineapple. Well, first when I immediately smelled it, I actually got a lot of alcohol. And you get this very heavy and thick alcohol smell. You have to give it around, you know, between 1 minute and 5 minutes for that alcohol smell to go away, let it dry down, and you start to get this very nice, very beautiful pineapple type of a smell that is very similar to Aventus. Now, I was smelling something that I thought might have been apple, but it wasn't. It was actually lemon, and I'll get to that in a bit. But as far as performance goes, I really wanted to test performance and how people actually thought of it. People at work actually loved the smell. They thought that it was great. No difference than Aventus in terms of that and having them smell it. The thing that did catch my eye, though, after initial spraying, was that I noticed that the performance was not as stellar and as rockstar as Aventus. All right. So those are some just kind of initial thoughts. Now, again, we're comparing this to the granddaddy Aventus right here. Now, so if I'm going to have to do a quick comparison to it, first thing I would start off with is smell. There was a quote by somebody on Fragrantica named Atomizer702 that pretty much sums up, a very specific part of his quote is really what sums up this. Fresco is like Aventus, is like the first 15 seconds of a really good song that you hear, and that first 15 seconds is put on repeat. That's what Fresco is as compared to Aventus. And I thought that quote pretty much summed up Fresco to a T. Fresco is Aventus's opening, but it doesn't go any further than that. That's it. So with Fresco, you get this pineapple, kind of a currant and lemon type of a smell that really does smell like Aventus's opening. But Aventus, on the other hand, you get a pineapple, a very nice apple smell, a very nice birch, a little bit of smokiness added into it, a little bit of vanilla that kind of pops up, and as the fragrance kind of goes along, you get those notes that kind of jump out, pop up here and there, and especially as you get into its dry down, you start to get a little more of that signature Creed ambergris dry down. None of that happens with Fresco. In fact, after about 2-3 hours, this really starts to get close to the skin. You can still smell it the same way as it did as it opened up, but it just starts to get really, really close to the skin and doesn't develop at all. Whereas Aventus is developing all over the place. Right? So The differences between the two there are just astronomical, and I wouldn't expect it to be any different, mainly because of the ingredient, factors. Ambergris really does make a bigger difference in fragrances, and if you smell the creeds, you can kind of pick up on that creed ambergris kind of base that all the creeds have in it. Fresco Ilum does not have that. By Ilum does not have that at all. So as far as smell goes, yes, it smells like Creed Aventus, but just the opening. That's it. Just the opening, and even part of the opening, and it stays that way throughout the entire fragrance. So if you're a huge fan of the Aventus opening, and at least part of the Aventus opening, I think Fresco might exactly hold you over. But I think for most people who have Aventus, or most people who have smelled Aventus, would rather prefer Aventus over Fresco. But again, Fresco, come on, this is $40. It's so much cheaper than Aventus, but again, it's cheaper for a reason. So longevity-wise, if we go on and start looking at performance, this lasts anywhere between, for me at least, 2 and around 4-ish hours. Aventus, on the other hand, the thing that makes Aventus such a rock star is that unlike its other Creed fragrances, this stuff lasts. This stuff lasts and it projects. This projection-wise is average at best for 2-3 hours, 4 hours maybe, and then it goes straight to the skin. This, on the other hand, after 10 plus hours, somebody can still smell you across the room. So Aventus is something that just has the longevity that will keep on lasting you. This, on the other hand, does not. Performance-wise, it's night and day between the two. This has excellent performance. This has arguably average performance. You could probably argue that it has below average performance. So poor, excellent. Poor, excellent in terms of performance. Again, the smell, on the other hand, yes, the smell, it's still very nice from Fresco Ilum, but I still think the smell is better from Aventus. Now, one asterisk that I began to wonder was how long will this actually last? Because of that heavy alcohol opening, I've noticed other fragrances that have very heavy alcohol openings, kind of like this does, and they're usually of cheaper quality. This is definitely cheaper quality than even most designer fragrances most designer fragrances are actually of pretty good quality, so I don't want to knock them like that. This has the quality of a cheap fragrance in terms of that alcohol-ish type of mix. It's not mixed well, is what I'm really trying to drive at. In terms of overall the chemistry, the composition. What concerns me about this is how long the fragrance is going to actually last itself, especially if it's not properly stored or anything like this. I have a very, very strong feeling that this is going to go bad fast. That's just my that's just my intuition based off of the other fragrances that I own, but yes, I have an intuition that this is going to go bad fast. Probably 1 year, maybe 2 years. I'm not sure how long, but yes. All right. So is it overall, an alternative to Creed Aventus? I do agree. I think it is an alternative to Creed Aventus, but don't think for a second that this is replacing this, because it's just not. When I came home, I put the two fragrances on, put one on this hand, put one on this hand, and the differences were night and day between the smell. You could really, putting them together or putting them side by side, you can really start to get the pineapple lemon type of a note, where you have this, pineapple, apple, birch, vanilla, you name it. You start to get, that mix in. Projection is always strong on this. On this one, not so much. And that was one thing that was actually confirmed. People really couldn't smell me unless they came up closer to me with this one. So, is it a Creed? Is it an alternative? Yes, it is an alternative with an asterisk. It's not the exact same. All right. So that's been a quick video. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free. Comment down below. Send me a message. Do whatever you gotta do. Thank you. Take care of yourselves and have a great day.